Welcome to the January 20th, 2015 Town Council meeting. This time, could you please stand while we say the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anybody that has any questions on the consent agenda? Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to accept?
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Consent agenda approved. The next item is public comments. At this time, the public can speak on anything that is not on the agenda tonight. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak? Seeing none. Next item is policy agenda. Public hearings, we have none. Item 2, nominations, appointments, and elections. We have several that were in the Services Committee, and I'll hand that over to Councilor McAvoy.
Thank you, Mayor Ryder. Turn on my mic here. By unanimous vote, the Services Committee recommends to the Council reappointment of 4 members of the Pool Board of Trustees and 3 members of the Library Board of Trustees. I make a motion that the Council approve the reappointment of Mary Ann Bjorn to the Library Board of Trustees.
Second.
Right.
All in favor?
I make a motion that the Council approve the reappointment of Yvonne Lambert to the Library Board of Trustees.
Second.
All in favor?
I make a motion that the Council approve the reappointment of Mark Russell to the Library Board of Trustees.
Second.
All in favor?
I make a motion that the Council approve the reappointment of Karen Brooks to the Pool Board of Trustees.
Second.
All in favor?
I make a motion that the Council approve the reappointment of Michael Jellison to the Pool Board of Trustees.
Second.
All in favor?
I make a motion that the Council approve the reappointment of Victoria Levesque to the Pool Board of Trustees.
Second.
All in favor?
I make a motion that the Council approve the reappointment of Sarah McVeigh to the Pool Board of Trustees.
Second.
All in favor? The next one is Lowell Sherman, was discussed in Finance and Administration and recommended to the Council for the reappointment to the Board of Assessment Review. Do I have a...
I recommend that the Council approve the reappointment of Lowell Sherwood to the Board of Assessment and Review.
And I'll second it.
All in favor? So next item is item 3, unfinished business. Hampden Highlights Newsletter, Services Committee recommendation. Councilor McAvoy.
Thank you, Mayor Ryder. By majority vote, the Service Committee recommends to the Council that it amend the current policy of issuing the newsletter 4 times per year to 2 times per year, and to further consider the eventual elimination of the newsletter. I make a motion that the Town Council adopt the recommendation of the Services Committee.
Second.
Public comments? All in favor? Yep, okay. Council comments then, Bill?
What was the basis, although I was there, what was the basis of wanting to reduce it from 4 down to 2?
Well, the basis was actually from 4 down to 0, but it was, after some discussion, it was agreed that we should leave it for maybe twice a year, at least once during the budget period, another one during the election period, and that's what we voted on and decided that we should continue discussion on, eventual elimination of it entirely.
And we kind of question, I believe, the viability of it because so many people nowadays have the internet, and also we have the town site for information. And
Correct.
I believe we wanted to see whether or not it was really worthwhile economically to spend that kind of money for the information passed on to the public. And I think that's something we'll see by reducing it down to 2. And there's been no decision to eliminate it yet, but
Correct.
possibility.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Approved. Item 3B, concrete floor bid results. Earlier, the Finance and Administration Committee got some bids back to do away with the tile in the upstairs and the downstairs of the municipal building. There was 2 different bids for polished concrete and epoxy finish. The low bidder was DMT. The Finance and Administration felt that we should go with the epoxy finish. The consensus was to have the town manager check and see if they could work a contract to do the upstairs, not to exceed $20,000 for now, because downstairs we have a water problem issue that needs to be resolved before we complete that downstairs. The money for the upstairs project would come out of the Buildings and Repair Reserve account. Any public comment? Do I have a discussion? Motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the 10,000. I'm sorry, I'm on a grant. I apologize. I'll make a motion that we have the town manager check with, is it DMJ?
DMT.
DMT, okay. To see if she can work negotiations to, I think we had a maximum, what, $20,000?
Yeah.
On, this is only going to be a removal of the tile in the back portion of the building where public safety is for now, on the upper portion.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Item 3C, Colebrook Road in Amera, Maine, Omnibus Municipal Development and Tax Increment Financing District. This was discussed in last Planning and Development. Councilor McAvoy had some questions that he wanted resolved. So at this time, I'm going to let Councilor McAvoy take over, and then I'll introduce Noreen Norton, that was very influential in the development of the TIF, and then we'll open it up for discussion after that. Councilor McAvoy.
Thank you, Mayor Ryder. Before I get started, I want to point out that this document supports my opinion that there is a clear distinction to be made between the town and the town council. Section 5 of the resolution states that upon state approval, the plan will be in effect, and I quote, without requirement of further action by the town council, or any other party, end quote. To me, the town is the town manager and staff. The town council is the taxpayers. In this instance, it is very clear that there is a conflict between the best interest of the town and the best interest of the taxpayers. My position is that the council must step up and fulfill its duty to protect homeowners, business owners, and other property owners from the onerous impact this plan will have upon the tax increases that implementation will demand. To do otherwise will reinforce the perception that the town is in charge, not the town council. a clear example of the tail wagging the dog. If there is any doubt that this is not the case, please consider the text of Section 6 of this resolution. I quote, "The town manager or her duly appointed representative is hereby authorized and empowered at her discretion from time to time to make such revisions to the district and development program for the district as the town manager may deem reasonably necessary or convenient in order to facilitate the process for review and approval of the district by the State of Maine Department of Economic Community Development or for any other reason, so long as such revisions are not inconsistent with the resolutions or basic structure and intent of the development program," unquote. It sure sounds like a case of abdication of council authority to me. In 2012, the town council entered into a 25-year TIF agreement with Emera, Maine, which diverts about $8 million in tax revenue out of the general fund. In round numbers, it's about $4 million is returned to Emera, and the town retains $4 million to spend off budget. This off-budget expenditure scheme is so complex that it took the town over 2 years to formulate. Section 2D states, and I quote, "The town has considered all evidence, if any, presented to it with regard to any adverse economic effect on or detrimental to any existing business and has found and determined that such adverse economic effect, if any, is outweighed by the contribution expected to be made through the district and development program," unquote. Please note that it was the town, not the town council, that made this determination. It is also noteworthy that the town only considered the impact upon businesses and not the homeowners. The Economic Development Department presented this proposal for the first time to the Planning and Development Committee on January 14th and asked that it be immediately sent to the council for referral for public hearing. It was clear to me at that time that not one councilor was familiar in any way with what was before them. I have attended all the council meetings for over 3 years, and I do not recall this proposal being mentioned, let alone discussed by any committee or any town council. I find it disturbing that the town wants the town council to understand and implement an item of this magnitude in less than 3 weeks. Considering the complexity of the proposal, why was the town council left out of the process? My opposition does not arise from the TIF itself, which is a subject for future discussion, but from this document, which is a smorgasbord of progressive projects with accompanying progressive tax increases. The town wants to spend tax dollars which most likely would not be available if the expenditures were subjected to the rigors of the budget process and open and public discussion. This plan is the 2010 comprehensive plan with a dollar amount attached to it. This plan lists over $21 million worth of projects over the next 25 years. This plan provides only $4 million in diverted tax revenue to pay for it. This council needs to ask where the other $17 million will come from. Allow me to highlight a few of the objectionable items contained in this resolution. Costs of establishing a town forest on land originally purchased for commercial development. Costs of establishing the planning, design, construction, maintenance, grooming, and improvements to new or existing recreation trails. Costs of skills development and training for jobs created or retained within Hampden. Costs of funding to establish permanent economic development revolving loan funds, investment funds, and grants. Costs associated with acquisition of land and rights of way. And as an aside here, the use of the term acquisition rather than purchase is troubling. No public safety improvements are currently anticipated. I want to make it clear that I do not want to molest in any way the agreement between Emera, Maine and the town. Emera entered into this TIF agreement in good faith, and I fully expect the town to fulfill its contractual obligations. All I'm asking for is adequate time for the council to conduct its due diligent obligation. The need for more information and discussion far outweighs any timeline considerations which the town may pose. In the best interest of the citizens of Hampden, I make a motion that the town council refer this resolution back to the Planning and Development Committee for reconsideration.
So we got a motion we got to deal with.
The way you had laid it out, he was going to say it, she was going to say it, and then there would be public comment and then a
Right.
motion.
So before we go to the motion, Terry, we'll continue with Noreen Norton, then discussion, and then you can make your,
Well, as a point of order, now that I've already made the motion and we, I started the discussion, in my opinion, it'd be inappropriate for anybody to make any other comments on this other than a town councilor.
okay, do we have a second? Okay, motion fails. Okay, item 3D, set public hearing date for the Colebrook Road and Emera, Maine Omnibus Municipal Development and Tax Increment Financing District.
Can I say something? We aren't finished with that yet. We had a motion, but we haven't had
We didn't.
public comment yet. We still have to have a public comment. The only reason I didn't second it is because we hadn't had the public comment yet. So if you're gonna move on, I'll redo the motion. The only reason I didn't second it is because the public hasn't had a chance to comment yet.
Good. So, do we have public comment? Okay, seeing none.
Then I would like to make a motion that this go back to the Planning and Development Committee for further review.
I second that.
I'm lost.
He's already-
I'm
I am
lost.
too.
We had a motion already for that.
But there was no public comment yet.
So we had the
Public comment should have been done before the motion was made. So I made my own motion.
Then may I ask the attorney, doesn't that motion have to be retracted then? That
No,
first motion?
It just fails for lack of a second, so the item is still on the agenda and is eligible for another motion.
Okay.
If there had been a vote on it, then you'd be into a reconsideration mode. But the motion failed for lack of a second, so the item's still on the agenda, and there
Okay.
may be a motion with regard to it.
Just
We
get
have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I've read through this, and as Counselor McAvoy said, it is very complex. I've been on the council 2 years. From what I understand, it has gone to planning and development, or at least in part, once in those 2 years, but I personally have not seen it before. And for us to be expected to go through this very complex document within a week and then send it to public hearing, I think is not acceptable.
Okay, all in favor of moving it to planning and development? All those opposed? 4-3. So, 3D then, setting public hearing date, the Colebrook Road, Emera, Maine Omnibus Municipal Development and Tax Increment Financing District. It was recommended, whoops, sorry, Bill, that would be you with planning and development.
I'm still reeling from what we just
Yeah, I
went
know.
through, so my brain's still on that. Yes, what we basically just discussed was the mirror tax incentive financing and capturing of funds for a Colebrook Road, actually, it's not Colebrook Road, but it's called the Triangle, for a mirror Maine omnibus municipal development. Anyways, I just want to make a recommendation. Actually, we already recommended it to council. Want to move this to a public hearing for the next town council meeting? Is that proper, I believe?
I'll second that.
Public comment? None? Discussion? Councilor McAvoy?
Thank you. I'm opposed to referring this resolution for public hearing on the grounds that the town and the town council have failed in their duty to adequately inform the taxpayers of the content of this resolution. It is incomprehensible to me how the council can presume that the taxpayers can participate in any meaningful way without being fully informed about the ramifications of passage of this resolution when the council itself does not understand the potential impact upon homeowners' future tax burden. Prior to the public hearing, I encourage all citizens to call any or all of the town councilors to demand more information so that they can better participate in the public hearing. Thank you.
The ordinances. So we have to, this is just setting a public hearing, so we do need to vote on it.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, item 4A, under new business, Maine Bureau of Highway Safety 2015 Equipment Grant, minus 25% match. It was discussed tonight in the Finance and Administration meeting. Public safety can apply for a $10,000 grant, and the town will have to match 25%. It was discussed in the Finance meeting and recommended to send to council for approval to go ahead with the grant. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
This is where I got confused from my agenda item earlier, started going about this. I'll make a motion that we, as a council, accept the Bureau of Maine Highway Safety Equipment Grant of actually $7,500, and we have to pay in out of reserves $2,500, so it's called a 25% match for safety equipment.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Just a
Councilor
math
Knapp.
question to make sure. 25 would be 25% of 10 grand. So is this a 10 grand grant with an additional 2,500 coming in from the town out of reserves?
The total I'm sorry, the total expenditure is $10,000, $2,500 of which comes from the town, $7,500 of which comes from the Bureau of Highway Safety.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the 2015 equipment grant? Okay. Item 4B, application for renewal of liquor license received from Wang and Low, Fresh Ginger Restaurant.
There's no public hearing required for this because they've had the license more than 5 years and have not had any issues related to that, so that the liquor license can just be held without a public hearing by the council for approval.
So do we have any public comment? Seeing none. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we renew the liquor license for Wang and Low, doing business as the Fresh Ginger Restaurant at 64 Maine Road North in Hampden.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor? Okay, moving on to committee reports. We'll start with Councilor Shakespeare, Planning and Development.
Okay. We discussed two things at Planning and Development Committee meeting. One was what we just discussed about a mirror, so I won't go through that again, and that was a recommendation to council for a public hearing. The other thing we discussed was a rental facility and community-based not-for-profit organization, which some individuals in Hampden may be familiar with. It's called Fields for Kids. The executive director is M.J. Ball, and he came to the committee and explained that he was, basically, this is a nonprofit organization. He was looking to annex some land between the Ammo Industrial Park and the area that is called LL Bean property that we acquired. We had quite a discussion about it, and basically it came down to the fact that at the moment, that particular land, LL Bean property, was acquired under the pretense, not pretense, but was required for industrial purposes and business purposes by the town of Hampden. So it's not something that we can just use for a nonprofit and give away. There's a set purpose for that piece of property. And we also didn't feel that it was a good fit at this moment in the town of Hampden, because it was presented to us that it would bring in business to us from the restaurants and motels, and we don't have, that I know of, any motels. Now, we do have a couple of restaurants, but it was a consensus of the committee that most of the business would go from that area probably to Bangor. So we kind of turned them down, but we told them if they had more information and basically could convince us that it was a good fit for Hampden, that we're open-minded and would be willing to have further discussions. And those were the two items discussed.
Thank you. Services Committee, Councilor McAvoy.
Thank you, Mayor Ryder. At its meeting on January 12th, the Services Committee discussed the newsletter and the board member reappointments, both of which were... Keep forgetting my green light. Let me start over. At its meeting on January 12th, the Services Committee discussed the newsletter and the board member reappointments, both of which were presented to this council for appropriate action. The Services Committee also discussed the placement of amenities such as trash containers, tables, and hibachis in Turtlehead, Paper Mill, and Dorothea Dix parks. No action was taken pending further information from the Public Works Department regarding its ability to adequately service those amenities. The committee also discussed the possibility of creating an active Facebook page for the town. This item was tabled so that testimony from other towns who have an active site could be arranged. The next Services Committee is scheduled for February 9th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Marble, Infrastructure.
Councilor Marble believes he has yet to chair
Exactly.
a meeting of the Infrastructure Committee, and will defer back to the mayor.
Thank you. Finance meeting tonight. Basically, you've heard everything. We went over the bids for the epoxy and concrete floors. We went over the 2015 equipment grant. That was basically what was discussed tonight in finance. So, with that, the manager's report.
A reminder that dogs have to be licensed by January 31st, 2015 to avoid a $25 fine, and 2015 transfer station decals are needed by January 31st to avoid being turned away at the gate. In preparation for the goals and objectives meeting, which we are having on February 7th, starting at 8 a.m. here, I would ask that councilors give some thought in advance to what their top 10 issues for 2015 might be. I'm in hopes that this might help the meeting be as productive as possible in providing guidance for the preparation of the 2015-16 budget. I received formal notification today from a law firm representing the Hampden Police Association, which represents the police officers, the union, which is the Maine Association of Police, of their intent to negotiate for the upcoming contract. The current contract expires June 30th, 2015, not 14, but that will be on the next Finance and Administration Commission for how the council wishes to move forward with these negotiations. The balance of the GPS units have been received and are being installed on public works vehicles. The purpose of this installation is to provide data that can be used to ensure that we are operating our equipment, plow routes, et cetera, as efficiently as possible. The new hours for the town planner are Monday through Thursday from 7:30 a.m. until 3 p.m. It is also possible to contact him by email at planner@hampdenmaine.gov. Once again, Hampden has received a positive designation. It was recently named one of the top 10 communities in Maine in which to live. At number 8, Hampden was the only community outside of southern Maine listed by Movato's real estate blog to make the list. The list was derived from communities with at least 5,000 people in consideration of 7 criteria, which were total amenities, quality of life, which includes cost of living, median home price, median rent, median household income, and student-to-teacher ratios, total crimes, tax rates, including sales tax and income tax, unemployment, commuting time, and the weather. So this is our second time on this list. And again, we're the only community north of Cumberland County to make the list.
Thank you.
Can I ask town manager, how does weather play into it, something that we as a can't control? That's
I didn't create the criteria. That's just what was listed as what they used.
I think Bangor has the same weather that we have in Hampden, basically.
Okay, and 4G, councilor comments. Councilor Sorois? Councilor Wild?
I did have a couple of comments. I wanted to thank the town of Hampden, with the people in District 1, for voting for me in this last election. I find it an extreme privilege to be up here to help move the town forward. And I do encourage most of the citizens about the Amira TIF to reach out to your councilman, reach out to more than one, find out why some are opposed and why some are for this. It is an important piece of paperwork, and it does deserve its due diligence. Thank you.
Councilor Shakespeare?
No comment.
Councilor Dupre?
Actually, the only comment I have is I noticed that going through the agenda that the council approved to put news presentations and awards on the agenda, and it is no longer on there. I'm not quite sure why.
It should be on
That was it.
there. I believe when Denise put the agenda together to move it forward, that she may have used an old agenda. I will make sure that gets on there in the future.
Is that it? Councilor Marble?
I think it's great that we got number 8 in the state, but I'd want to make sure I knew who Movato's real estate blog was and whether or not that really means anything, but it sounds good. I think it's obvious we're of some divided opinions on some significant issues up here in the council. It's my own hope that we keep working together, looking for what we can find in common around economic development, services, quality of life, and tax rate, to then get to specific policies that support where we do agree. And just a general reminder, the State of the Union is tonight. Good night.
Councilor McAvoy?
Thank you. As usual, I want to remind everybody to, buy American, shop local. Good night, Hampden.
And I have no comment. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.